Hello my friends, here are 5 hypnotic chord progressions for amazing jams with friends or with a looper where you can really get lost and completely get soaked in the music and forget about the entire world. The video is divided in two. In the first half I'm going to play the jams for you while playing some guitar improvisations on top so you can get ideas for cool riffs in the style of that particular jam. And in the second half, I'm going to play the same jams again, but this time I will not be playing the improvisations, you will be playing them. And also before each jam, I will break down a bit more deeply about the picking pattern of that particular jam, so you can be able to play these chords yourself. Time to get funky. Bossa Nova can feature many complex chords, but this particular chord progression is amazing because it makes those beautiful Brazilian vibes accessible while using familiar bar chord shapes. This beautiful next folky chord progression works great not just for jamming with another guitar, but especially for jamming with instruments like a violin, a harmonica, a flute. So whether you play these or you have friends that play these, the next time you meet them, now you know what to play. Now on to something that throws me all the way to the beaches of Byron Bay, Australia, where I used to busk along with this tune all the time last summer. Alright, and now it's time for the second part. Let's break down these picking patterns and strumming patterns. And one important thing to remember is that with each one of these jams that have an A part and a B part, feel free to play the A part or the B part for however long that you like. Alright, and let's hear some tips for how to play the reggae. And the thing with reggae is that unlike most other genres, there are two main differences. The first one is that your down strums are going to happen actually on the upbeats. The upbeats mean that, let's say you count a song 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, so your down strums are going to happen on the end. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So this is the very basic reggae strumming pattern. However, again, unlike most other genres where, for example, in rock, you can strum the same down, down, up, down, up throughout the whole song and it will sound great, in reggae, you will sometimes vary with what you're doing. You will make it a bit different. So, for example, not just down, 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 but sometimes you will also throw an occasional upstroke. As to where exactly to throw these downstrokes, this is really just about playing it and trying it and mostly listening to a bit of reggae so you will get a feeling yourself as to where exactly you want to throw these down bits and how to play it. Now let's break down the funky vibe. Now first of all, funky is something that takes a bit of time to get into your right hand because you really gotta have this flowing, really loose right hand that plays in 16th notes, unlike pop and rock songs which play like this. So in funk you actually play double the speed. To practice this, first let's mute the strings just by lightly pressing our fingers on them, and then let's practice some 16th notes just like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Remember, also pay attention to this accented 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and this is really the funk. Now, you practice this, let's form the E major 7 chord. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 3 and 3 2 and 3. So what you also want to notice really closely is when I am muting. So for example, I'm playing a downstroke or an upstroke, but I am slightly lifting the fingers so they only rest on the strings, and then I get this sound. And to make things really funky like I did in the demonstration, you can also add a hammer-on the second string. You can do it in any of the chords that we played. You can do it in any of the chords that we played in the first part. Now let's break down this Bossa Nova picking pattern. Okay, Bossa Nova, while it sounds complex, it's really not that hard and it just repeats itself. So let's form this A7 chord, which happens in our Bossa Nova chord progression. And then what you're doing is this is what you're playing throughout the whole song. And again, you can make some variations in it, but first, grab a hold of this one. It will sound great. Later, once you have control of it and it sounds good, then you can add some variations. So the way it's actually working is, first of all, you're going to pick the bass string along with fingers 3, 2, and 1, which are going to be picking strings 4, 3, and 2 at the same time. Then the next thing that happens is that you are picking strings 2, 3, and 4 again. So far we have. And now you're going to be plucking only the bass string and then only the 3 strings again. This is it. In between, make sure to slightly raise your fingers off of the chords so it will create this mute. Or sometimes you cannot do it if you want. And another important thing in the Bossa Nova picking pattern is that, let's say that you are playing a chord with a root on the 5th string, like this E minor 7, for example, that happens in our song. So the first time you're going to pick a bass string, you're going to pick the one on the 5th string, and the second time it's going to be the one on the 6th string, right above it, with the same finger. So it will sound like this. Let's break down the picking pattern of the folky jam. Okay, so here's how to play the folk picking pattern, and I will also say that, by the way, you can also play it with a picking pattern called Travis picking pattern, which is very common in folk music. However, here I'm not going to go into it because it's really way too much for this one video, but I'm going to show you the simpler folk picking pattern that I have been using. So it just goes like this. And I was using some variations on it, but basically what you're doing is, first of all, you are picking both with the thumb and with finger number 2 on string number 2 at the same time. And then finger number 1, string number 3. And then with the thumb, you can either, by the way, use pick like this, a thumb pick, or just use your thumb. Anyway, so with the thumb, string 4, and then finger number 2 again on string 2, then finger number 1 on string 3. And then if it's a G chord and the bass is on the 6th string, so you're doing the same, but this is going to be on the 6th string. And then you can vary it sometimes so it will sound like this, for example. So sometimes you can use the 1st string, etc. now break down the chill Australian picking pattern. Okay, and the picking pattern for this one is simple. I'm first going to show you the picking pattern and then the strumming pattern, which you can move to in the chorus of the song, or you can call it B part or however you want. So first of all, the picking pattern, let's say we're playing an E chord. So first of all, with your thumb, you're going to play the bass string, in this case it's the 6th string, and then with fingers 1, 2, and 3, you're going to pluck strings 1, 2, and 3 at the same time. And now, what you're doing is you're doing this chuck, which you're going to do with your nails when they are hitting the strings. And then the next string that you're plucking is another bass string. So if, for example, the first string that I plucked was the 6th string on the E chord, so now you can pluck the 5th, just to create a variation. And then again, all of the 3 fingers at the same time. And then, if you want, you can also add this sort of a chuck, but one that actually lets some sound ring, lets the bottom 3 strings ring. So. And then the next chord. And when it's time to strum, you can move to a strumming pattern which resembles the same rhythm, which is like this. Down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 down. And then coming back to the A part. My friends, I will see you in the next videos. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, and I will see you soon in the next videos.